From the concrete jungle of Detroit to the shimmering mirage of Hollywood, the saga of the Black Mafia family BMF has exploded into mainstream consciousness, but peel back the layers of the hit TV show, look beyond the myth of Big Meech, and you'll find a furious, behind-the-scenes war raging. This isn't a battle fought with street corner muscle, but a high-stakes showdown over rights, respect, and a jaw-dropping $112 million fortune. We're about to plunge into the untold story of a head-on collision between two giants, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, the media maestro and mogul in progress, and Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, the kingpin locked down yet convinced his life story is being ruthlessly exploited. Prepare to witness the betrayals, the business maneuvers, and the broken vows at the heart of the 50 Cent versus Big Meech BMF rights brawl.
You know, he's saying, how did Meech have information on you and give it to Tammy so you could get caught up in it? How did that happen? So that means you got to go back to the movies. Right, that's the. Oh, Meech and Tammy was trying to get Suarez.
Exactly. But when the government found out she was in contact with me, they switched the investigation toward me.
Before we even begin to unpack the financial inferno, you have to grasp the sheer scale of the BMF phenomenon. Back in the early 2000s, the Black Mafia family wasn't just another drug operation, it was a cultural earthquake. Their lavish spending, their iron grip on the streets, their audacious climb and spectacular crash, it all became legend. Fast forward, and when 50 Cent decided to translate this story for television, it wasn't just another crime drama pitch, he was tapping into a pre-existing obsession. The BMF series detonated in the cultural landscape, resonating deeply with audiences already spellbound by the legends of Meech and his brother Terry. This built-in fan base, this pre-wired intrigue, is precisely why the stakes in this rights war are stratospheric. This story wasn't just valuable, it was already embedded in the public psyche.
2-3 hours, like, I'm at the Louis store. I'm like, what? What the? I could have saved this bitch $5,000 outfit.
The seeds of this explosive conflict were sown in what seemed, initially, like a golden opportunity for everyone involved. Picture this, 50 Cent hip-hop royalty turned media titan reaches out to Big Meech, still a towering figure of influence even from inside prison walls, with a proposition. The concept? Transform Meech's raw life story into a must-see TV series. For Meech, this was a chance to seize control of his narrative, to finally tell his side of the story, and crucially, to potentially profit even while incarcerated. For 50 Cent, it was the chance to launch another blockbuster franchise, capitalizing on the inherent drama and dark allure of the BMF saga. Initially, there was a sense of mutual benefit, a handshake deal seemingly built on mutual respect and shared goals, but as we're about to reveal, the fine print, the unseen clauses, and the unspoken expectations are where this deal began to unravel, and where the promises whispered may have drastically diverged from the brutal realities of Hollywood and the unforgiving system of incarceration. Now let's confront the elephant in the room, the number that's echoing through headlines: $112 million. Where does this astronomical figure originate, and what exactly does it signify in this escalating conflict? It's not a simple cashier's check Big Meech was expecting to cash. Instead, this number appears to be a complex calculation, a composite of several factors. First, it's intrinsically linked to the projected profits and overall valuation of the BMF franchise. With multiple seasons already greenlit, lucrative streaming deals in place, and the potential for a sprawling BMF cinematic universe, the anticipated revenue is staggering. Second, it likely represents what Meech and his legal team believe is just an equitable compensation for the rights to his life story, considering the series' undeniable and explosive success. He's essentially arguing that his intellectual property, his lived experiences, have spawned immense financial gain, and he's entitled to a significantly larger slice of the pie. This $112 million figure isn't just a random number, it's a symbolic declaration of war, representing Meech's unwavering demand for what he perceives as rightful acknowledgement and financial recompense for his foundational contribution to the BMF empire, both on the streets and now on screen.
I'm watching movies, I'm like, man, actor must just be reading lines off of paper, like something like this. You know, when I get there, you're like, hey, don't look at the paper. Imagine your mom and dad in the casket right now.
Imagine the psychological pressure cooker of being Big Meech, confined within prison walls while simultaneously watching your life story detonate on television screens across the globe. While the BMF series has undeniably amplified his legendary status, Meech's perspective is one of profound frustration bordering on rage and a deep sense of betrayal. From his incarcerated vantage point, he alleges that promises made were casually broken, and that he has been systematically denied fair compensation for the unauthorized use of his name, his likeness, and the intricate details of his life story. Meech and his advocates contend that he was subtly led to believe he would wield significant creative influence and secure a far more substantial financial stake in the series' runaway success. He feels exploited, reduced to a mere commodity that his life is being commodified and profited from without him receiving what he deems just rewards. This isn't solely about the money for Meech, it's a visceral matter of respect, of reclaiming ownership of his narrative, and of feeling like a genuine partner, not just a passive product being manufactured within someone else's burgeoning media empire. His voice, amplified through carefully orchestrated interviews and escalating legal threats, resonates with a deep-seated bitterness and a conviction that he's been fundamentally and perhaps irrevocably wronged.
Take the bad along with the good and show his crew how to be men, then that's what you get. Everybody shining like new money. It ain't no other crew like this in the world, and there never will be another.
On the opposing side of this increasingly volatile feud stands 50 Cent, a notoriously astute businessman who has meticulously constructed a media empire through calculated risks, unwavering self-confidence, and a ruthless pursuit of success. From 50 Cent's perspective, this entire situation is likely viewed through a purely transactional lens, business pure and simple. He likely perceives the initial agreement as a legitimate and equitable deal, professionally negotiated and legally binding. He's poured substantial capital, immense creative energy, and formidable marketing power into transforming the BMF series into the cultural phenomenon it has become. From his strategic vantage point, any financial claims that extend beyond the originally agreed-upon terms are likely viewed as opportunistic, even extortionate attempts to capitalize on the series' pre-existing popularity and financial success. 50 Cent has, on numerous occasions, publicly downplayed Meech's grievances, even suggesting that the incarcerated kingpin is merely attempting to leverage the series' widespread popularity for personal financial gain. This starkly highlights a fundamental and perhaps irreconcilable clash of values and perspectives. Meech emphasizes loyalty, respect, and a shared history, a sense of brotherhood perhaps, while 50 Cent resolutely prioritizes the sanctity of contractual agreements and the unwavering bottom line of a massive, multi-million-dollar entertainment venture. It boils down to a critical question: can genuine loyalty and ethical considerations truly coexist within the cutthroat, high-stakes arena of Hollywood and the morally ambiguous legacy of BMF?
Yeah. So look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film.
This escalating rights battle hasn't unfolded in hushed backrooms or behind closed doors. It's been a deliberately public and often acrimonious spectacle, playing out for all to see. Social media has become a crucial battleground, a digital coliseum with both sides and their fiercely loyal entourages exchanging pointed barbs, veiled threats, and outright accusations. Leaked interviews and carefully crafted public statements have poured gasoline on the flames, transforming a private dispute into a public spectacle of shattered trust and rapidly escalating tensions. The once perceived partnership, however fragile it may have been, has devolved into a messy public free-for-all, damaging the carefully cultivated public images of both figures involved. The collateral damage extends far beyond just Meech and 50 Cent. It casts a long shadow over the perceived authenticity and ethical foundations of the BMF series itself, prompting viewers to question the very motives behind its creation. This very public airing of deeply personal grievances has solidified the already widening rift between them, making any future reconciliation appear increasingly improbable and further entrenching their diametrically opposed positions in the unforgiving glare of public opinion and relentless media scrutiny.
You struggling making that G-Unit film studio out there in Louisiana where that cheapest land at. You thought you was gonna be able to do it. You thought you was gonna be able to get them loans, and it ain't. What's wrong? What's taking so?
Beyond the sensational public drama, the 50 Cent vs. Big Meech saga is also quietly unfolding in the more discreet but equally high-stakes legal arena. while the intricate specifics of any potential lawsuits or formal legal challenges remain somewhat shrouded in secrecy. Deliberately obscured from public view, the underlying legal issues are starkly clear: rights ownership, contractual obligations, and the raw exercise of power. Who legally possesses the definitive rights to Big Meech's undeniably compelling life story? What were the precise terms and conditions of the initial agreement, if any, that were forged between the parties involved? And to what extent can Meech, operating from the inherent limitations of incarceration, effectively exert any meaningful control over the narrative and, crucially, the substantial financial benefits being generated from his life story? This complex legal dimension injects another layer of complexity and potential for protracted conflict, transforming the initial public feud into a potentially lengthy, deeply costly, and legally intricate battle. Lawyers, meticulously drafted contracts, and the often murky terrain of intellectual property law become the new weapons of choice as both sides strategically maneuver to solidify their legal positions and potentially extract maximum leverage from the increasingly volatile situation. The courtroom, or perhaps more realistically, the hushed intensity of behind-the-scenes legal negotiations, will ultimately dictate the formal outcome of this high-stakes rights dispute, even if the public drama continues to play out in the media.
I didn't know that they say I was the only person that flag that they sent up. I ain't know that. I'm gonna be honest. Tony Yayo told 50 Cent himself, y'all could Google.
While the attention-grabbing $112 million figure dominates headlines and fuels public fascination, the true core of this conflict transcends mere financial considerations. It's fundamentally a battle over legacy, control, and the fiercely contested terrain of narrative ownership. Big Meech is driven by a deep desire to control how his life story is ultimately told, to meticulously ensure it aligns with his personal perception of events and his carefully constructed desired legacy. He doesn't want to be simplistically reduced to a one-dimensional caricature of a criminal mastermind. He likely seeks nuanced recognition for his undeniable business acumen, his undeniable street-level influence, and perhaps even a more sympathetic and multifaceted portrayal of the complex life choices he made. 50 Cent, conversely, is laser-focused on maintaining absolute control over the creative direction and, most importantly, the sustained commercial success of the entire BMF franchise. He has painstakingly built his sprawling media empire on the foundation of controlling narratives, shaping public perception, and this situation, in his view, is likely no different. The ultimate battle is for who gets to definitively define the BMF story in the collective public consciousness, and who ultimately reaps the rewards, not just in terms of immediate financial gain, but also in the long-term currency of reputation, historical perception, and cultural influence. This relentless fight for narrative control is often far more valuable and far more enduring than any fleeting monetary sum, profoundly shaping how future generations will ultimately understand and interpret the complex, controversial, and undeniably captivating legend of Big Meech and the Black Mafia family.
For him, outside of mentioning me, when things get bad, you mention me, it gets covered.
The 50 Cent vs. Big Meech saga isn't a neatly closed chapter. Simmering tensions continue to percolate beneath the surface. In recent times, there have been persistent rumblings and subtly coded jabs exchanged between the two fiercely entrenched camps, hinting at deeply unresolved issues and lingering, perhaps festering resentment. While the intense public spotlight may have temporarily dimmed, shifted its focus elsewhere, the underlying conflict remains stubbornly unresolved. There are persistent whispers of ongoing legal maneuvering behind closed doors and continued, albeit less public, disagreements and disputes. The feud hasn't necessarily exploded into new public conflagrations recently, but the conspicuous absence of any public reconciliation, any gesture of resolution, strongly suggests that the core issues, the fundamental points of contention, remain stubbornly unaddressed. This deceptive quiet period might just be the ominous calm before another, potentially even more explosive storm breaks.
Tony Yayo said, I wouldn't do that if I was, because Tony Yayo know them niggas ain't got no money. Come on, man, look at Tony Yayo and Auntie with that. Them niggas need face.
Looking towards the uncertain horizon, the future trajectory of both the sprawling BMF franchise and the deeply personal 50 Cent Big Meech saga remains shrouded in ambiguity. Will the legal battles continue to drag on, potentially for years, consuming vast resources and further escalating animosity? Could there ever be a genuine reconciliation, however improbable it currently seems, between these two powerful and deeply entrenched figures? And what are the broader implications of this ongoing conflict for the future of the BMF television universe, its continued expansion, and its overall legacy? The unresolved conflict has the potential to significantly impact future seasons of the flagship series, any planned spin-offs, or any other ancillary projects directly related to the BMF story and its enduring appeal. It raises critical questions about the long-term viability and, crucially, the ethical implications of continuing to profit from a life story where the central figure feels demonstrably exploited, systematically uncompensated, and fundamentally wronged. The ultimate resolution, or perhaps the protracted lack thereof, in the 50 Cent Big Meech dispute will not only irrevocably shape their personal relationship, but also potentially and profoundly influence the long-term trajectory of the BMF brand, its continued presence and cultural relevance in popular culture, and the evolving public perception of both men involved. The story's next chapter remains tantalizingly unwritten, leaving audiences, industry insiders, and legal observers alike wondering with bated breath what the ultimate outcome of this high-stakes showdown will ultimately be. The explosive clash between 50 Cent and Big Meech over the BMF rights transcends the simplistic labels of a celebrity feud or a mere business dispute. It serves as a stark and cautionary tale, illuminating the complex and often treacherous intersections of power, immense wealth, fragile loyalty, and the often unforgiving machinery of the entertainment industry. It brutally exposes the inherent tensions that arise when real-life narratives, particularly those deeply steeped in controversy, criminal activity, and moral ambiguity, are relentlessly commodified and transformed into mass-market commercial entertainment. It starkly highlights the profound challenges of ethically navigating the complex terrain of profiting from someone's intensely lived life experiences, particularly when that individual is incarcerated, inherently vulnerable, and arguably lacking true agency in the negotiation process. Ultimately, the ongoing saga of 50 Cent and Big Meech serves as a potent and unsettling reminder that even within the dazzling, often deceptive world of Hollywood glamour and the relentlessly lucrative business of storytelling, the fundamental human element, the weight of promises made and broken, and the subjective perception of fairness can ignite a firestorm of such intensity that no amount of money, no matter how astronomical, can easily extinguish. The headline-grabbing $112 million battle is merely a symptom of a far deeper, more fundamental conflict, one that directly questions the very foundations of trust, ethical responsibility, and the ever-present potential for exploitation within the high-stakes, winner-take-all game of fame, fortune, and narrative control.